Hello everybody, Keith here again. I've had a request, my very first request I have to admit, from Annie's Addictions, another YouTube plant blogger, and I'd urge you to go and have a look at Annie's channel because it's very interesting, because she lives in a very different environment to mine in Europe. So it's very interesting to see how other people grow stuff and what we still learn from each other. And I've learned from Annie, and she claims she's learnt from me, called Helper. Anyway, be that as it may, she asked me for a little bit more information on this Phalaenopsis pink Twilight, monster that it is. I've told the story a few times in passing, but this is perhaps one particularly of this plant then. Ruth and I went to the Royal Horticultural Society show at Tatton Park in, I think, 2018, it might have been 2017. And at the time I'd started to develop an interest in orchids. I wouldn't regard myself as anything of an expert, and I was looking for some advice, some help, some guidance, and I noticed that one of the British nurserymen, Lawrence Hobbs, had a stall there and he was going to be giving some care tips. I thought, okay, we'll have some of that. And we went along to the talks area. There were all kinds of talks being given by different people at the show, and Lawrence came up and he started doing a repotting demonstration. And what intrigued me in the first place was he had a vanda, not one of the vandaceous orchids that you can grow in pots like a renanthera. No, this was a full-blown vanda in a pot in bark, but he sort of said, yeah, you can keep any kind of orchids in different environments, and here's a vanda, and I didn't talk a lot about that. But then he took this plant which was out of flower, and he used it for a basic repotting demonstration. And it was the last day of the show, so after he actually, repotted it, just, a phal. I wasn't particularly looking for another phal, particularly not a big one like this. And he said, I went up to at the end of the talks, he was clearing up, and I was helping him move things around and get things together, and got chatting. And I said, I'm surprised you can keep vandas in bark. And he said, yeah, well, you can. They don't like it very much, but you can. You've just got to be very, very careful. And then we got talking about orchids in general and this, that and t'other, and he suddenly thrust this orchid at me and said, do you want it? And I went, you what? And he said, do you want it? It's out of flower, it's no good to me. All I'm going to do is take it back home and it'll just sit on the shelf. So you can have it if you want it. So, okay, thank you very much. So I brought it home. And it's a Phalaenopsis. That's about as much as you can say about it, except it's a very, very big one. I mean, you've seen my other videos, you've seen the tiny ones, like Equestris, which is nothing like that. And then you've got this thing, and the length of this leaf is huge, and it's very broad, it's very long, it's a very deep green. It has this rather strange feature that the tip of the leaf breaks. But in terms of keeping it, it's a Phalaenopsis. when it's out of flower, I can just about manage to keep it on the windowsill. When it's in flower, I can't. I was trying to. You can see I've got this, it's actually a metal stick because it gets silly. And I was trying to grow it up there, and we went away for a long weekend. And I tied it up here. By the time we came back, it was out, it had grown that much. And it's still growing. It's doing, but it was being grown this spike, and the weather's changed. And it's gone cooler at night. It's not as warm during the day. It's 2:45 in the afternoon. It's only 21.4 in here, and it's getting down to 15-16 degrees overnight. So it's bordering on temperatures that the Phalaenopsis types don't like. But it's where you put it, because when you've got a spike that goes out like this, it's still growing. Now, I don't know whether it's got anything to do with the change in temperatures, but we've got a number of nodes that have flowered. You've then got a node there that hasn't flowered. You've got a node here, which has obviously tried to flower, but the bud hasn't formed. There's something very odd there. You've got another one there, and then it started to bud again. You've now got at least 4 or 5 more buds to come at the end of this spike still. And it's still not as big a spike as it has grown. It grew one a year or so back that was about a metre long at the end. So this one is big in every sense of the word. But as I say, in terms of keeping it, if you've got the room and you can keep Phalaenopsis, you can keep pink twilight or its close relatives. I have a couple of species phals, as you will have seen in my videos before, and whether they're hybrids, named hybrids, things you buy from the supermarket for a few pounds, they all seem to do just as well under the same conditions. When I got my first species, Equestris, from Burnham's, I was there, and I said to Sarah, how do I look after it? Is it any different? She said, no, if stick it on the windowsill, it'll be fine. And that's what I've done, and it is. And the same is true of this. If you've got somewhere that Phalaenopsis do well, you can grow this. So that is my Phalaenopsis pink twilight. It is quite a pretty flower. It perhaps isn't my favourite. I don't much go for the sort of paler, insipid, perhaps the wrong word, but I prefer on the whole a more solid colour than this. Pink clouds is very similar. It appears to have more pink in there and more yellow in the lip. A lot of it's going to depend on how big it gets. That's one I've just recently picked up that could be very similar to this one. But anyway, that is my little chat on pink twilight. Phalaenopsis like any other, but just it's a big beast. It takes up a bit of room. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. That one's for you, Annie, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.